Josh, have you ever signed an NDA,
Yes, I have.
a non-disclosure agreement
Yeah, I have.
for all your jobs, or that's like some of them?
Some of them, yeah, I have.
Has it ever made you be unable to find another job?
No, not for me, but I do
Really?
know for other people it has.
Okay, yeah, because I know that this is happening because that's the reason why this bill has been passed. So the U.S. is now banning non-compete agreements for most, if not all, jobs.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because a lot of times an NDA is used to kind of protect intellectual property, to protect against poaching from other companies. And a lot of people just don't understand what they're signing when they go join a company. They're like, oh, I got hired. This is great. And then at the end, they're like, oh, you can't actually work for anybody else in the business
Yeah,
sector because you signed this NDA.
yeah, that's true. That is true. I do remember. I do remember reading that.
So this is now being solved by the FTC, which typically is in the best light. Typically, people are
Oh
not too
yeah.
happy with FTC. So, but I mean, it was narrowly voted to pass, so it wasn't like 100%. Like people were all on board with this. I feel like it was like kind of a split decision, but like it got voted in, I guess. So, to their point, I do agree that having this non-compete ban or this ban is good, or the having non-compete agreements banned is good, because I mean, I don't know, having your like life having basically stuck at a company is never a good thing, I
No,
think.
it's not. Yeah.
So we have additional things to talk about if in a second after you consider hitting that subscribe button, hit that like button. We come out with interesting topics like this one daily, so if you want to talk about or follow us on this journey and learn about other interesting topics like this one, make sure to hit that subscribe button.
I want to say that there is a non NDAs, but if you move companies, or typically if you move different tech sector or different sectors,
Yeah.
like let's say you go into tech or you go into construction or you go into other things,
Yeah.
like the NDA doesn't really like it's typically just for the area that you're in or
But I
the
feel
sector
like
that you're in for the most part.
that is true, but I mean that's only if you're planning to leave the sector you're in.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like most times people are trying to go from like one tech company to another tech company, one, like clothing manufacturer to another one, cuz like a lot of times you're getting hired based on your experience, and if the experience is in the NDA and you're like you can't like get hired based on that, then like you're kind of
Yeah, then you're
SOL.
yeah, that's true.
And I mean, if you look at the pure numbers of the amount of people that had NDAs that were very restrictive, apparently 1 in 5 American workers, about 30 million people had or worked under NDAs or are non-compete agreements.
Have you ever signed an NDA?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. I feel like what you mentioned right here. A lot of people do sign NDAs, and I do think that it makes it restrictive for the people. And I do think it does make it harder to find a job. Like if you're not planning to leave the sector.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, what can you bring to the company? I feel like that's the whole reason they bring you on. It's like, oh, you have experience in a certain thing. Like we were just talking about like Apple and Apple Car. It's like, oh, they're gonna go to the other company and get to that person. They want the knowledge about cars. They don't want your
Yeah,
knowledge about like coffee making.
yeah, that's true.
So the crazy thing is that I didn't realize how much money that could free up in terms of like moving around from sector to sector or from business to business within the same sector. So apparently it would actually increase wages by nearly $300 billion per year.
Yeah, I can imagine that because the people who are typically like signing the NDAs and moving to other companies are, I would imagine, people who are having like a very
Like lucrative job position.
well, lucrative, but also they're climbing up in their career. They're having some vertical growth,
Yeah.
and they're moving from one company to the other. Maybe potentially from a junior position to a senior or to
A mid.
middle or like even middle to senior position, and they're able to take that information with them.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times people get like caught up in the fact that they physically bring things in terms of like USBs with like company information and whatnot.
Yeah, that's a big
That's
problem.
like obviously that's a no go.
Theft.
That's a straight up theft.
Yeah.
But the thing that's being banned is the fact that they just were not allowed to leave the company.
I do remember seeing like a bunch of TikToks where the guy's like, "Oh, how much money that did the last company pay you?" And the guy's like, "Can't say. Signed an NDA." And I was like,
I guess we'll pay you less than that.
less than
Less
that.
than zero. We're gonna give you this much, and it's like, oh, that's not really competitive. We don't know what we're competing against.
That is, yeah, that is true.
So the whole thing is that you mentioned it before, like people would go to get higher up in a position, they would go to a different company, but that would not be allowed with these people with NDAs.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole thing is that this is because a lot of times in a company they actually make it difficult for people within the company to move up, and it's actually a lot of times easier to move up outside of the company.
Yeah, and a lot of people also, what they do mention is switching over jobs for higher salaries too. So if it's making it difficult for that to happen, then overall you're getting paid less.
Yeah, which is the weird thing, because typically you'd think that a person from within the organization would be a better candidate for a position versus someone from outside, like that doesn't understand the work culture, doesn't exactly know what the work's going on. If it's like, if you're going from a entry to a mid position, but it's like a similar role, just like a little more responsibilities, like I feel like more than likely they'll take someone from somewhere else.
But think about the wealth of experience someone else has from coming from outside, compared to someone internal.
But I mean, like, that's the whole issue, is that they're not
able
investing
to,
in
or internal candidates.
Yeah, and from internal candidate, like,
that's
like
true.
what's the point if, like, basically that thought process that you just basically said is like the reason why that they would just leave, because like, like I can just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I honestly think that this is a good thing in terms of trying to, I guess, not encourage people, but like make it less like of a stigma, or like against or like have it legally binding, or not legally binding, to have you not go to a company similar.
Yeah, diversify the employees that are currently working within these sectors. Yeah, to have them go to other sectors, or to other positions within the same sector.
Yeah. The other one that was wild is that the NDAs that were being signed are not just in like higher positions, or like positions that would require a lot of skill. Sometimes it seems like it's these NDAs for non-skilled positions. So it'd be like, oh, you're like doing security work or something like that, and or even janitorial work, and you're like, well, why do you need an NDA to like not go somewhere else? And I feel like that is also a good thing, or not a good thing, but a bad thing. It's good that it's gotten passed, because this was barring people from taking the experience that they got and then making their own company.
I wonder, like, if a janitor has to sign an NDA, it's because they could be privy to sensitive information regarding like
Cleaning supplies?
Not cleaning supplies, but things they might hear around.
I don't think it's that. I meant this is like non-compete agreements in terms of like making another cleaning company. Like you work at a cleaning company and you can't make your own cleaning company, or you're working security, you can't make your own security company.
Yeah,
after learning how security companies are run.
That's true. Okay.
So I'm like, I think it's good that this is done, because it's like, it kind of ruins the spirit if you're like, oh, like this person can't leave to make their own like catering service because they worked
at a catering job.
And that's like, oh, it's like you sign the NDA, you're stuck doing this, versus like following your dream of having your own catering spot.
I think I'm trying to remember. I think the NDA had a certain number of years that you could have before you do anything. But
that's also very restrictive. It's like,
very restrictive.
It's like 3 to 6 years. I mean, it's a fairly long time. So by that time, you might not even want the job
or have relevant information. Yeah.
Well, I guess that's the whole point.
Yeah, that is true.
But yeah, let us know in the comments down below. Have you ever signed an NDA? Like, do you think this is a good thing? Because apparently, according to what is it? The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, they said that they would sue the FTC to block this ruling because they said it was unnecessary, unlawful, and blatant, and a blatant power grab. So they're saying that this would be negative for people, for employees, and negative for companies. So this is a very interesting take on it, but I do think that having more freedom to move around would be a good thing. But let us know your thoughts in the comments down below.